Hello, everybody. My name is Amista, and it's one of my favorite things actually to be able to share intuitive stuff or mystical stuff with other people whenever I can. So, one of the things I like to do as I'm getting to know a new deck is to get to know one publicly, get to know one along with you guys. So, the card that we're looking at today is the Two of Swords. This is out of the what is this? The Cirque du Tarot tarot deck. And so our Two of Swords is just really unique and has some great imagery here. We've got our person who is ostensibly trying to make a decision, because that's what our Two of Swords talks about, is this idea of deciding something one way or the other. She is in a very non-traditional pose compared to our normal Rider-Waite tarot for sure. She's got her legs are completely separate. She's doing the acrobatics in the ribbons, and she just has this actually serene look on her face. I'm guessing that's really a focused look, doing acrobatics with swords in your hands at a height. I'm guessing that's focused, but she looks very serene. Maybe she's just really tapped in as she's doing this. And she has the swords in this kind of defensive posture, especially defending her heart chakra or her emotion things, anything that has to do with the emotions. And swords are thoughts, they're very logical. And so a lot of times when we're making a decision, we have to decide, do we want to factor in the emotional or not the emotional? And I also feel like a lot of times that Two of Swords with this pose, with the two swords crossed in front of our acrobat, just as much as on the Rider-Waite, the two swords in front of the person there, it almost comes up as a defensive thing to me as well. Like basically saying to people around her, back off. I'm making this decision. I don't want a lot of input. I don't want people to skew how I'm looking at things. I want to make this decision well. It's an important decision. And here in this card, we have what I think is supposed to be the moon coming up here. And we've got the dark side of the moon and the light side of the moon. So we have, we have one side of the coin to consider. We have the flip side of the coin to consider. And so really we see her looking at what are the pros and what are the cons of this situation. And also the moon can sort of create illusions in the way that it casts shadows. And so this can be her really trying to cut through any illusions as she makes this decision, because it is an important decision to her. So I really like the depiction on this card. I think it goes along well enough with the Rider-Waite for us to be able to really see a lot of that similar stuff in there. But there's also some of that extra, the personal touch of the creators, which is really creative and still very telling on the meaning of the card. You know that she can go two ways. You know she's choosing. You know she's thinking something over as she makes this decision. So let's see what the book has to say about this card. They call their book Under the Big Top, a guidebook to the Cirque du Tarot. And let's see, they list cards as either allies or challengers, where I would normally probably say right side up or reversed, because I do work with reversals. But not everybody does, and cards can come through either way. So what they say about their Two of Swords when it shows up as an ally: when one has a balanced mind, one has a balanced body. When all is aligned, it is like walking on air. Decisions don't have to be hard, and they also don't have to be made in fear. When one knows their mind, they know the answer without having to worry or stress about the outcome. One of the swords is the rational mind, and the other is the intuitive mind. They can work together or separately, yet they work best when they are used with confidence and clarity. These two swords do not have to be in conflict with one another. It isn't an either-or situation. Just use the correct one at the correct time, and you will stay in grace and in the flow much like our aerialist is what they call her, an aerialist. Okay. So I kind of like that. What are they talking about? The mind and the intuition working together. That's interesting. I kind of think about when we make decisions, I kind of think about the mind and the heart working together. I don't think I've really considered what making a decision is like once you actually have intuition. I haven't gone back and updated that thought process. And I've been working with intuition a long time, a very long time, since 2012. So I like the way they look at it. That is kind of a new thought for me. I feel like if our heart is saying one thing and our mind is saying another, that can really kind of torture us until we can get that resolved. But this is saying the intuition and the mind. I would rather trust my intuition anytime, actually, than the heart. So let's see what they have to say about this as a challenger. Not everyone is comfortable using both of these swords, and you may find you prefer one over the other. At times, the conditions call for use of the sword that is your least preferred one. This can throw you off balance and allow doubt to creep in the back door of the mind. However, this can be dangerous, especially if you are suspended high above the stage with no safety net below. Preference isn't instinct, it is bias. Preference is bias. And it could end up costing you in the long run. Therefore, think about how you can make yourself more comfortable with using both of those swords. Well, I think they've got a really good point there. One of the things that I teach people whenever we do the tarot classes is that when we read the cards, we don't want to throw our logic out the window. Obviously, we don't want to throw our intuition out the window, but we want to hold on to our logic too, because it's a combination. To actually read cards accurately, it's a combination of the intuition and the logic. You might logically know the meaning of a card, but maybe a card has 5 or 6 meanings, especially if you've been reading them for a while and you've seen a few meanings pop up. But when that's the case, then you have to also bring in that intuition to figure out which one is the one that actually is showing up here. What's the real deal in this particular case, in this particular reading for this particular person across the table from me, or in this particular reading for myself? How is this playing out? Because the thing about the tarot is that these cards have energies that breathe and that adjust and that flow with our culture, with our society. They can change meanings. I've had several cards that have changed meanings on me over time. There were certain cards that took on certain meanings during COVID. Those meanings haven't been coming back up at all lately. And some of those cards have reverted back to old meanings that were prior to COVID. Some of these cards now have completely different meanings post-COVID. And so, we're working with something that has an energy that breathes along with us, that makes adjustments along with us. So it's really important to use the intuition as well as the logic. We don't want to rule out the intuition any more than we want to rule out the logic. They're both important when we read a tarot card or cards, especially if we want to be accurate. And we all want to be accurate, right? Okay, well, that's what I've got for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And if you would like to schedule a class with me, that is possible. Just reach out. My phone number is on my website. Have a fantastic day. Peace out.